Welcome to Mission Driven Founders, where passion meets purpose. If you're dreaming of starting your own business or organization, whether it's in wellness, education, or beyond, you're in the right place. We are going behind the scenes with inspiring entrepreneurs who are not just building brands, but driving real change. Hit subscribe, tap the bell for updates, and stick around. This conversation could be the spark that ignites your journey. Today, we're excited to introduce Garner Hall, a teenager and entrepreneur from Bainbridge Island and founder of Brain Nourishment, a fast growing movement helping his generation reduce screen time, screen addiction, right? And reclaim their focus on well being. Now, let's dive into Garner's inspiring journey and see how he's contributing to our movement and making a difference in the world. Garner, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Of course. So let's go to our first question. Your mission is both timely and inspiring. Can you take us back to the moment Brain Nourishment was born? And what personal experiences sparked the idea? And how did you turn that frustration with screen time into a movement?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think just like anybody else, whether it's the young generation, even older, I've saw like myself and the others around me kind of get stuck in these cycles of social media addiction. Right? It wasn't something we were willingly putting ourselves into, but we were kind of like becoming trapped to our phones. It was really hard to break free, and kind of saw this like really consume my life and it was really frustrating to me. Everything I did see on social media, this thing that I was spending way too much time on, wasn't really inspiring me. Often it would just get me like deeper entrenched within those kind of negative feedback loops. So I think through that, I just, with that, apparent fault and, content that I actually wanted to see, I figured I might as well take the initiative to do that, right? If nobody else is going to. So I think that was the initial realization where I was like, okay, I kind of want to start this thing. Not go into it with too many expectations, but at least try and do something to make a change. And it obviously started out really small and simple. I didn't really expect it to be where it is today, but as it's grown, as it's gotten more momentum, yeah, I think overall it's not only helped me with social media addiction, phone addiction, but I've seen it help a lot of others too. So that initial spark of realization and starting it without any expectations was really really important to me.
And how old were you when you started realizing
So
all that and started the movement?
yeah, so it was my sophomore year of high school. When I was 16, kind of like the latter half, right before I was turning 17, and um, yeah, ever since then, I think you know I still obviously struggle with this issue, but kind of being so aware of it through the thing I'm doing has really helped. Just me be more mindful of the time I spend on my phone.
And how did you get support from your friends and your family? How supportive were they when you decided to start this initiative? I'm sure your parents were very supportive, but your friends and everyone around you.
Yeah, it's a great question. I kind of kept it anonymous for a while. I didn't, really tell anyone. It was just kind of something I did on the side because, I was worried I was worried, what people might think of it. But as it grew, as it became like really, I don't know, became more of a real thing. I realized, this could be important and help other people that I know. So once I ended up telling more people, and the network kind of grew around it, I would say it was very supportive, yeah. And yeah, but just like there was that barrier of, not sure if I should tell anybody or not because it's kind of my own little side thing. And it was, when it's small, you don't want to, talk about it if it turns into nothing.
Now you've built a community of nearly 2 million followers, and it's such a short time. So, who do you feel is your ideal audience, and how do you see brain nourishment helping them reclaim their focus and well being? Because we do have a lot of older people, not teenagers, also falling in the same situation, right? With social media and electronics, the screen time affects people of every age.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think when it was a little smaller, I saw it primarily, the audience was primarily people a lot like me. Um, in that younger generation, 13 to 17, 18 to 24. Um, but as it's expanded, I would say it's kind of hit all sorts of ranges. As you said, this issue isn't, exclusive to just younger people. I think it really hits almost everybody. So as it's grown, as I think it's helped people, the age ranges have really, diversified and spread all sorts of places. So but I think primarily still, just through my own perspective and me being, the main driver of what's being posted, I think it still more appeals to maybe people around my age of Gen Z. And because Gen Z has grown up, sort of in this digital age where phones have been around like a consistent factor within our lives, I would still say that is kind of the primary audience that brain nourishment serves and also can cater towards in a way.
Fantastic. And so there's many people struggle with addiction today, with the screen addiction. You're not only raising awareness, but also building tools like your upcoming app. Can you share how your design and your content and the products that you're offering truly support your generation in disconnecting and refocusing? Tell us more about this program. Let's go into a little bit more details of what you're building and what the program is right now and what the app is going to look like.
Yeah, absolutely. So, right now, what I'm trying to build is something I actually initially started just through the Instagram, where I would um, give a user audience a daily side quest, right? And these activities were really to advocate for something outside of the phone, an alternate activity. Because what I think, you have these other apps on the market that could do a good job of, providing a blockade to a distracting app, but I think the root cause of us scrolling on our phone for too long just is really driven through boredom. So if I'm able to provide, simple fun activity every day, I think that could kind of help address that root problem of not having other alternate activities to do outside of, scrolling on your phone. So that's kind of what it stemmed from. And today, yeah, I'm really happy with what we've done. It's really close to being launched, but it all stemmed from that idea of Instagram where we give the user a daily side quest. They can log photos or notes with it to sort of serve as a memory journal of things they did outside the phone. So I think it kind of helps with the mindfulness aspect of it, spending more time outside, spending more time outside the phone. So that's really the main initiative behind it. And because I've seen it works so well outside of just the app, it's really something I wanted to take, extend further outside of just social media.
That's fantastic. So the app is not launched yet. You're going to launch it.
Yes, it's at its final stages right now. We're hoping to get it launched before like mid September is our goal. So in these upcoming weeks, we're kind of getting that process rolling.
So the program now is only through Instagram and your website.
Right, exactly. And because of that, obviously we do our best to help with social media addiction. We do our best to remind people, but at the end of the day, if we just stay contained within social media, that means people are going to see it if they're on the platform we're telling them to get off of, right? Um, so, there is sort of that self exacerbation thing where we don't want to contribute too much to the thing we're trying to like block in a way. So by kind of expanding our mission further outside of just social media platforms, we could kind of help drive this issue of stopping phone addiction, but it's outside of social media now.
So tell us your Instagram handle and your website and how people can contribute locally with their local community. Let's say if you have activities that you're doing locally where you are, if they could do the same where they are. like how people can get involved without the screen time, right? Because that's the goal of the brain nourishment.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Instagram handle is just brain.nourishment with two T's. The website is brainnourishment.io. Um, and ultimately, I think on the local level, there's a lot of things you could do. Like I had said, just advocating for other activities or doing something fun with your friends, whatever it may be. Just something as simple as that kind of encourages not spending time on your phone, right? It's less self isolation or in your room when otherwise you would be spending time on your phone or on social media. So even that could help. Or you could, there's plenty of other amazing movements out there, whether it's like offline weekend or just any of those initiatives. You could start one yourself that just kind of you know get people behind a cause of maybe spending a weekend off your phone or spending a certain amount of time off your phone. Either way, it's not necessarily easy because we rely on our phones so much, but I think it could make a really big difference, and make us sort of realize how much reliance we usually have on it for our phones on a day-to-day basis.
So true. Now, this question is about your challenges. So, every founder faces challenges. As a student, balancing school, sports, coding, entrepreneurship, what's been one of the toughest moments of this journey? How did you push through, and what did it teach you about leadership and perseverance?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me personally, as someone who isn't super technical, building the app was definitely a huge hurdle for me. Um, learning how to code certain things I just had pretty much no expertise in. And obviously, with these sort of things, you run into technical problems all the time. So I think trying to overcome those so constantly, to kind of build on the mission I've already started, it was really difficult, but ultimately, I'm really glad. I think persevering through that taught me so much about, how to care myself through other aspects of my life, whether it's in school or, the other business part of it. And it kind of, showed me this, the importance of persevering through these hard challenges because that's what ultimately is going to cultivate the success and, really expanding your initial ideals or um, the mission in a way.
And this project started with only you, right? And then it expanded. How many people work with you today on this?
Yeah, so it's still primarily me. I've worked with another group of people to help with the app, and I've also worked, with other people to help with brand outreach and general content management. But I'm still, I would say, the primary runner of it. Um, I dictate, and manage all the content that's posted. Um, Still some of the brand outreach, all of that. So I've helped I've worked with some people to sort of help the other outside operations, but I still like to kind of um, retain control and do what I can.
That's amazing doing all that by yourself. My
Thank
goodness. So let's talk about the giving back chain, where brands and consumers unite to support the planet and the community. In your case, Brain Nourishment is giving back by helping people reclaim their time and their mental health. How do you see your platform continuing to expand its impact, whether through partnerships, your new app, or other ways your community can join this movement?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think impact within the social media landscape is only so limited, right? Because again, we're still like telling people to get off social media, but the only way they're going to be reminded is through social media. So it's never going to be 100% effective. And so that's really, I think the app is where I see that, incentive expanding, right? That's really why I wanted to do it in the first place. But yeah, I think with the app, it allows for this like almost third party vessel that people can get reminded to stay off their phone. And it's really a second edition of Brain Nourishment, but it doesn't have to be through a social media feed that is already feeding into that issue in the first place. If that makes sense.
It does, totally. So Our CMB certification recognizes leaders who embody transparency, education, sustainability, and social impact. And nonprofits can earn this certification at no charge after, of course, going through a rigorous audit. Your work with Brain Nourishment reflects these same values. How do you think programs like our certification can empower change makers like you and amplify your impact?
That's a great question. Can you elaborate on it a little further?
CMB has a certification, and we mostly certify brands that
Hmm.
are giving back to the community through social impact, through donations, volunteering, and that you are already doing, right? So,
Hmm.
our certification is a more holistic certification than what you see as USDA organic or Leaping Bunny, which is for vegan products. We
Right.
really recognize a holistic approach to giving back to the community, sustainability, education. You meet the criteria. All of this you already are doing, right? With sustainability, transparency, education, your social impact with your app. So do you think having a certification helps you gain more trust with your audience? Is this something that you think is important or not?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think ultimately it isn't important as far as trust with my audience. I think people understand the mission is trying to embody, and I think so many people already connect with it. Um, as far as outside kind of the Instagram landscape, I think that is where it could maybe come more into play, right? I think for some people who aren't as involved with social media who or don't understand that landscape as well, it could be a little confusing on what, I'm really trying to do or like what brain nourishment really is or means. So I think through that certification, it could kind of, um, provide more context behind really the impact we try to have.
Great. So if you want, we can talk about this later after the interview because I love what you're doing. And I think that our values are so aligned and you could fit right in. But for this interview, I want to thank you, Gardner, for sharing your journey and your mission with us. You've shown us that even as a teenager, it's possible to spark a movement and inspire change that benefits an entire generation. Thank you so much for sharing this with us, your project that is growing tremendously and helping so many.
Of course, thank you so much for having me. I'm always happy to talk about it, and I really appreciate the opportunity to do so. Yeah, it was wonderful.
And we wish you most success in this endeavor. I know it's going to go global and grow even more.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
And to everyone watching, remember that every choice we make can shape the future. So let's choose wisely, live intentionally, and support those who are making a difference. Stay inspired and stay motivated. Let's keep building a brighter future together.